Welcome to Get Your Mind Right, the podcast where merchant services, digital marketing, and personal growth collide. Tune in for real talk, fresh insights, and the motivation to level up.
Good morning and welcome to Get Your Mind Right, Boots on the Ground. And with me this morning is Jerry Faith. Jerry, how you doing?
I'm good, John. Thank you for having me on the show. Looking forward to it.
It's good having you back. This is your second trip?
Second time around.
Second time around.
Happy to be here.
Okay. Well, I'd like to tell you that you get a prize for being on the show twice.
Oh, what's that?
Well, I'd like to tell you that.
Oh, you'd like to?
Yeah.
Well, it's the way it goes around. Maybe the third time.
Maybe the third time. Or we could go through this again. So Jerry, you know, I've had you on the show today. I heard you talk about this subject, and you called it the journey into restaurants.
Yes, we've talked about that.
So it was pretty darn interesting, and you know you've talked about wins and you've talked about restaurant nightmares. So that's really the subject of the podcast today. But I'd like you to take our audience through your winding and twisting path through what is the merchant services industry and how you ended up doing what you're doing today.
Oh, that path? Goodness. So in short, got into the industry because it was an attractive sales position, right? Looking for a really good sales career, and fell in love with merchant. Along the way, fell kind of in love with restaurant. That was one of my niches I liked working with. Well, POS systems were there. Mm-hmm. So naturally you start gravitating to cool things, let's call it. You want to learn that side of the business, which then led to an opportunity to buy a local point of sale company. And so being a merchant for many years, and then pivoting into something unknown like POS systems was a big challenge.
Okay. So how many years you reckon you have in the POS business now?
In the POS business, at least 10.
Wow.
Yeah, 10.
Okay. A lot. Got the scars to show it as well.
Got the scars to show. Well, what happens is in the POS world, again, restaurants are attractive, right? You gravitate to them.
Yeah.
It's a nice environment in there. You get along with the owners. Each owner of a restaurant is kind of eccentric in their own way, have their own story. Again, the restaurant vibe is really cool and lively. It's a good customer when you have them and take care of them. They're yours for a very long time. POS itself, it's a really cool tool. Technology is neat. But then there's all the nuts and bolts that go with it.
Right.
That's what makes it challenging.
Well, let's start at the top of the funnel here, because one of the things you talked about, it's a major mindset shift for reps to go into this mode of talking to their merchant in terms of total cost of ownership.
Yeah, that's the typical sales rep a lot of times defaults on price, right? Mm-hmm. That's the
flip to the last page.
Yeah,
is how much it's going to cost you.
You shift to that, and instead of doing the work, which is really trying to understand that restaurant, understand what's going through, and going through a path of total cost of ownership. Mm-hmm. When you're talking about a point of sale system, price is what you pay today for it. Total cost is what that project, that POS, costs you over time, right?
So what's that going to cost me over time beyond my initial outlay?
Well, it depends on the POS systems, right? So you think there's a lot of bait and switch in the world. That there's the free systems. Well, man, I wish things were free. Don't we all? But there's a cost there, right?
How are they doing it?
Well, things get let's not use the term baked, but we're going to use the term baked. They're baked in over time and elsewhere. Mm-hmm. And other fees. Often it is tied to credit card processing. Mm-hmm. So on the left hand, it might be free, so the merchant's excited and the rep's excited to do a free program. Again, that's an easy sell. But the reality is the cost of owning that over time gets very expensive.
Because what they're doing is they're jacking up the merchant services fees.
Merchant services, monthly other fees that may apply, quarterly, semi-annual, technology fees of unknown values and names that appear.
Right. Well, but I don't know tons about restaurants, but I do know that they're cash strapped. They do lots and lots of leasing. So
business.
Isn't this still pretty attractive to them? I don't mind paying higher on my merchant rate.
It is still attractive, and a lot of people have shifted away from leasing, but leasing's still a good product out there. If you think about it, when a business owner leases something in their business, that's a tax deduction monthly. It doesn't have to do over time, and so that's not a bad thing. As well as typically you're replacing your technology maybe every 3 to 4, maybe 5 years at the latest.
So it is. That's interesting that you say that. So if I'm a POS rep focusing on restaurants, I could lease them the equipment, or to your earlier point, give it to them. And from a restaurant standpoint, even if they know they're paying higher merchant services rates, well, they could treat that as a lease that they're not really paying interest on.
Correct.
So that's still, for a lot of restaurants, that's still going to be a great proposition for
Yeah,
them.
because when I was selling POS systems, if I could break a system down that, say, it was going to cost them $7 and change a day, and it's going to solve all these problems within their business, even to the fact that you think streamlining clock in, clock out timekeeping, and that syncing directly with like QuickBooks or some other interface they have, how much time that saves, right? And time is also money. Again, that cost of ownership. You know, if I'm a business owner and I'm doing tasks within my restaurant and I allocate X number of minutes, half hours to hours, whatever that is, that's money too, because I could be doing something else better suited in the business, right? Versus those tasks. And so if we can automate that through POS and streamline it, that reduces their cost of ownership.
Gotcha. Well, that's interesting. So what you would do then, Jerry, on your proposal is you would come in there. Did you ever do free POS?
I did not.
Okay, so you'd lease it, I'm guessing?
Purchase, lease, or installments.
Okay, so you do. Let's make easy math here. Let's just say you're going to do a lease. So your cost components on your proposal would be your lease. Would you sell them a maintenance contract?
Potentially, yes.
Okay, and then you would, of course, you would show them for X period of years, you would guarantee their merchant rates.
Correct.
Okay, so were you able to get the restaurant owner on board with saying, hey, let's look at total cost of ownership over here. Yeah, they're giving you this for half, but let's see what they're charging you on the merchant.
That's the effective way to sell, because it's your job to really to take that owner of any business down the right path, right?
Right.
And at the end of the day, you're trying to establish a lifelong relationship.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're in the merchant business. When we have a customer, I want to be your customer for life if we can.
Yeah.
And the only way you can do that is to go further than just selling on price.
And this is, I shake my head at this, and I don't try to understand why anymore. I just accept it for what it is. But you started off the top of this. You said reps want to sell on price, and if the minute if they look at a customer's face and they're saying, oh, I think he thinks my price is a little high, they're going to lower the price without even being asked, right?
Really.
So I never really understood that, because what you're doing is you're showing an apples to apples cost comparison and a return on investment. That's a much easier and more profitable way of doing that, because when you show a business owner that's the way they're wired, right? What's my total cost of this? You don't have to tell a business owner that. They think in those terms.
They do, and when you understand a POS system and really the value it brings, because there's so many out there, right? I mean, a cash register could meet the functions of a certain business owner. It's understanding how they operate and what they need, and painting that picture of what things can be like for them. You also want to be careful not to throw something in the picture that they don't need, because then likely that will damage the sale opportunity. Okay, so it's really understanding what they're doing, introducing concepts to help streamline, reduce cost, efficiencies. Theft is big in the restaurant industry. A lot of the mom and pop restaurant owners don't like to acknowledge that.
They don't. That's a slippery slope.
But it occurs. But if we can place a system there that would help eliminate that theft, right? If we're talking something as low as $20 a day, that's an impact to a restaurant.
It's a big impact.
That's $20 net.
Well, that's a great segue to my next question. The financial and emotional pain points.
It's true.
Okay.
You have to hit on that with a business owner.
So in the terms of a restaurant, one of the things you just mentioned was theft. What else? Theft. What else are they looking at in terms of financial pain points?
Well, I'm going to talk primarily about mom and pop business owners, because
Okay.
when you're in the restaurant space, you've got a majority of them are mom and pop business owners. These are the folks who write, I have a dream that I want to own a restaurant one day. Some of them did go to school for it, some didn't. Again, it's tied to that. I have this dream that I want this restaurant. That's vision, and they likely have really good food recipes. Right? That's I'm proud of this. I'm doing this for my business. After that, a lot of them are really bad business owners because they've never owned something like this and everything that goes with it. And then they deal with all their food vendors, and they got employees and labor costs and taxes and insurance and liabilities and internet and everything else, right? It's overwhelming. And when someone doesn't show up, that business owner, guess what they're doing? 2 jobs now.
Yeah.
And at the end of the night, when someone has to leave early because there's an emergency, that business owner, they're staying late. That's their world. So there are lots of stress there, and understanding that when you're working with them, right, and being okay that we're going to have a conversation that might get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because I have to understand everything about your business to get you the POS system that's really going to work for you, right? And so part of that is identifying, again, how you do things today. Are the ways we can streamline? Can we reduce theft and risk costs, right? Efficiencies, simplicity, right? It's got to be really easy because restaurants have high turnover. Man, if you got to hire somebody every 2 weeks, you got to train them on your POS system, right? To efficiently ring up. So you want something that's easy to use. The kitchen has to be able to receive, the orders, and can they follow that easily? And does that make sense so that they can produce the plates that get pushed out? All the way down, again, clocking in, clocking out, what do you do with that information? How can all this be easy and streamlined, right? That's a goal. And then as you go down that path of the business owner, you'll start uncovering the impacts on their business. And impacts can have the hard and soft costs. They can be financial and personal. And that's really how you win that customer over. So once you went down that journey, now we're just getting down to budget, right? Well, what can we get into your budget? And you've established a really true relationship down the journey. At the end of the day, if it fits in their budget, they'll do business with you because they've already like you, they trust what you're saying, they believe that you can deliver this, okay? Or if it doesn't fit in the budget, then they might have to default to something else out there that is, quote, a free system, which happens.
Gotcha. So tell me what these emotional pain points are all about.
Well, I've had restaurant owners cry.
Was it something that you did?
No, not that day. Here's an example. I worked with a really nice deli, been in business for over 20 years in the town I live in. And it was time they were shopping for a new POS system. And so they found us on the website. It's called, we set an appointment to go meet with them. It's between myself and like all the players out there, whether it's Micro, Solo Hot this time, everybody, right? We're all competing for them. And I was able to win the business. We're sitting down going through menu building. So you think about the journey of a restaurant, a sales rep gets excited to sell it. And a lot of times in today's market with merchant services, the sales rep has to be the same guy that installs it. So that's where problems happen too, right?
Okay.
And we'll hit on that. But in this case, the pain came to, I brought up to, hey, we're building your menu out. Just curious, when was the last time you did like food cost? He's like, what do you mean?
What's that?
And I'm like, well, cost of goods, what you're paying for your stuff. It's a whole new menu we're building. This is a whole different system you're getting now. So all the prices, everything's new today that we'll be building for you. Would you like to check this stuff before we start taking your existing prices and putting them in? Yeah, it's a good idea. Give me a few days. So we come back to do this. He was like, oh my gosh, Jerry, we haven't been making any money on it. He listed all these items. We've been losing money. That's a common thing. Because, again, an experienced restaurant owner who finds success in their business often set a price based on emotion.
Yeah.
I think that's $5.
Right.
That sounds good.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Well, cost of goods keep going up. And so the protein and the sources used to make that sandwich, it might come to $5.01. So you're working, you got labor, overhead, everything, and you're serving the food and you didn't make any money on it.
And they don't account for any waste or overage or spoilage either.
No.
Yeah, I get that. I've seen that too. So, Jerry, I've noticed one of your catchphrases in the sales universe is fit. That's the word, and you build that into a catchphrase, right? Are we a good fit? Is this going to be a good fit? Do you see this being a good fit? What's that all about?
Well, you want them to acknowledge that they would be a fit for you. Because at the end of the day, I offer services and a solution. That's got to be a fit. I'm part of that. The company I represent is a part of that. Are we all going to be a fit together? Now, because I'm on the service side, I have to also respect the fact, is that customer a fit for me? And not have commission breath and be okay to recognize that, we likely are not a good fit.
Yeah. Yeah, or are they going to be calling you 2 or 3 times a day? Jerry,
when I work with a variety of agents or sales offices, this is one thing we talk about in the POS side, like, it's okay to disqualify a customer. Are you sure you want to have that customer? Because you will get that 11 o'clock phone call.
Right.
Or the phone call on Christmas or Thanksgiving. Do you want that?
You also mentioned that buyers want knowledge and price, but getting in these price questions early can be dangerous.
Correct, because they'll use it against you. They can take your knowledge. Think about people back in the day, and still do it, but car shopping, in which they shop all the cars, right? They're stealing knowledge, they're stealing prices, invoices, whatever it is, right? Kelly Blue Book, so you've got to go get what you want, really. And you're going to buy, you already have the money where you're going to buy it. So you're leveraging the other competitors to get more knowledge.
Gotcha.
And the merchant space will do that too.
So how do you play your cards then in that situation?
Always put price. The price conversation budget is always at the end. And they'll push for it, right? Hey, John, that's a great question. I hear you. We're going to get to that. But first, we got to still determine, are we even going to be the right fit for you?
Right. Oh yeah, that's a great way of handling it. I don't have even enough information to give you.
I don't, because at the end of the day, customers are really happy with our cost and price of everything. It's just a matter, are we the right fit?
Yeah. So I know I'm lobbing you up a softball here, because this I know this is a favorite subject of yours and mine, of reps that come in and they do information and feature dumping on a customer.
Yeah, that's terrible. I get it, right?
Well, now wait, Jerry. Isn't there value in going into that business owner and showing them how smart I am and how I know everything about that system?
If the business owner didn't ask for it, no.
Okay.
That's the what's the saying? You painted a seagull in someone's picture that didn't want a seagull in an ocean picture.
Okay. So what's the damage there?
It goes back to rapport, bonding and rapport, right?
Yeah.
You've hurt yourself.
Yeah, I think too. It is the the soft skills are the tough part, right? Of empathy and communicating, and when someone a merchant says something that you don't understand, you have to have the moxie to professionally frame this. Hey, I didn't follow what you were saying there, right? Whereas what the information dump truck guy do is he'll nod, go ahead, and then give you another 5-minute monologue of everything he knows on the system.
Everything he knows. And here's a little bit, right? It doesn't matter if it's a restaurant system or a retail system. If that business owner has not went down the path of how important inventory is to him, don't bring it up.
Yeah.
That's a whole new rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Right? And overwhelming, and it's not necessary.
So a lot of our competitors, they don't like talking about total cost of ownership, right? So how would you coach up reps that, again, those are the majority of the marketplace, by the way. We don't want to talk about TCO, right? So what kind of strategy can I do to lob a hand grenade at my competitor who does that?
Well, understand the competitor, right? Because at the end of the day, if someone's leaning towards a competitor's product, and that is more of a SaaS type product and everything's caked and built into it, you do want to show what things cost over 36, 48 months, because they'll then see the difference, black and white on paper. Their product may turn out to be 30 grand, and your product turned out to be 15 grand.
Yeah.
So was it really free? Was it a good deal?
Well, I really enjoyed your presentation, because you teed it up for the people that were there on that training session. You gave them literally a gold mine of qualifying questions. Give me some of your favorites and why you find those to be so hard-hitting.
Oh gosh, let's see. I mean, having an arsenal of questions to work with any merchant is key, right? Because you're trying to uncover things. So we talk about this in some of the sales and networking training I do, but I'm going to keep it generic here, but to have yourself a very effective 30-second commercial, right? Because I have to introduce who I am, what I do, why am I here talking to you. In my 30-second commercial, I'm going to have buried in there 3 pain points I'm looking to uncover within your business that you might be going through. Whether it's efficiencies in orders to the kitchen, it could be something as simple as your POS system is going down all the time. Is it theft in the business? Variety. But I'm looking for pain hooks to incorporate in that commercial, and therefore when they hear my pitch or my 30-second commercial, it resonated with them. Okay, so now I sound and act different than my competitor. In the event that they don't acknowledge or bite on those pain points, okay, I didn't uncover anything. I'm looking, is there a valid reason we should even be talking, right? If I didn't uncover anything, well, I'm going to give some more. And that's more of like I call it a Chinese menu feature, right? You think about your favorite Chinese restaurant, and the menu is massive, but in the day it's the same protein and vegetables and different variations of it, right? So next pitch is this, okay, John, that's great. Other reason customers work with us in this particular system is, and now A, B, and C, 3 different things. Maybe that resonated, okay? In the event that doesn't resonate, okay, now I'm going for one last ditch. I'm going to throw a harpoon at them.
Yeah.
Hey, John, sounds like everything in your business is great. Maybe you already got your mind up on what you're doing in POS, and you're probably going to absolutely love it every day of your life. Because I'm hoping then the customer's going to go, well, I didn't say that, Jerry. Oh, really? Tell me more.
Tell me more.
Because you just want to get the conversation flowing, but then once we're in there, we want to start uncovering things in the business, right?
Yeah.
How do you do this? How do you handle this? How do you handle your guest checks and tips? How do you do your payouts? How long time does that take? How do you do, it's just...
All super important things.
All super important things. How do you do discounts? How do you reconcile?
You made me think about something. There was one of my first sales jobs. I had a manager who was really influential over me in a lot of ways, and he was a proponent of establishing what the goals and objectives were with the customer, right? And in this case, what he would do is he would go back to the second meeting with a whole printed list, everything he wanted to cover, and he even tell the customer that. And I noticed that. I was like young enough where I was taking coaching. I didn't have my own ideas on this, so I did that. But our reps are all experienced. None of them did that, right? And I said, hey, I asked them, why don't you? Oh, I don't need that. And it looks like you're leaning on a crutch. And it is they had to give this impression it was some sort of weirdly misplaced macho thing that I'm a tightrope walker and I don't need a net. And I went on deals and I worked with reps who did this, and consistently they miss things, right? When you go in there with a printed agenda, like one of the things that I'm thinking about is all your questions there. To me, there's nothing more professional, right? I even got to the point I tell the merchant, hey, I did some research on your business. I got a whole list of things I want to talk to you about and understand this before I can give you a proposal.
Correct.
They're impressed by that because no one else is doing that.
They're not. No one's taking the time to actually have a formal agenda of what we're trying to accomplish today. And I've done my homework, just like you said. And at the end of our meeting today, it's one of two things. Either you like what you've heard, and there's a valid reason we should continue this conversation, right? To look towards doing business together, or there's not, and that's okay, right? Because again, you can't sell someone anything, right? They have to want to buy into what you're offering.
Exactly.
And our journey is to win them over in all aspects, right? Because we're looking for a lifelong customer. So then when the time comes 3, 4, 5 years from now, and they are ready to do something different, you're the go-to person because they've had a great experience working with you.
Right. Yeah, that's really interesting, and the other thing is that, people will say, everyone's pressed for time, right? Well, I don't have time for that. But you do have time to call them or go back for a second meeting because you missed some things the first time, right? So it is just, it's an easy way to differentiate yourself from your competitor. It is going to put you in a better light. At the end of the day, you're going to be able to get a deal done faster on this.
Absolutely.
Well, let's pivot to hardware costs, Jerry. There's a lot of things, especially in a restaurant. You've got kitchen displays, you've got stations throughout it. How do you go about presenting these numbers and the solution to the merchant without absolutely overwhelming them?
So you're going to identify again budgets, right? What fits within their world, because it has to be feasible. They can afford it. You do want to look at efficiency. So you think about restaurants you've been into, and is it that the station is so far away because they're not using handhelds that server has to walk a mile?
Right.
Because ideally, if I can keep your server and your wait staff in front of your guest, it's a better guest experience. It's a faster table turn. Now I can turn the table, bring in the next client in, right? Better experience. Those are things a lot of times a restaurant owner or a seller doesn't think about. But that's something part of total cost of ownership, just something that simple, right? So if I've done that, now you've got repeat guests because it's happy, they like it better because you like interactions with your wait staff. You don't want to have to sit and wait around for, oh, excuse me, I need this.
Right.
Or can I get my check? Business owners, again, I run a business, I'm in the kitchen most of the time, or I'm overseeing this or that, or I'm in the back paying bills and stuff. They're not catching all this.
Right, they're not necessarily tied to it.
They forget about this, because again, we're talking about the mom and pop business world, right? Not the big chains who have GMs and everyone with efficiencies. This is the normal people we work with.
Jerry, when you're selling a POS system to a restaurant and you've got like a really great solution, and you get to the end of it, okay, and you say, hey, is this going to be a fit for you? That's a Jerry Faith thing to say, right? And they say, did you ever hear, hey, Jerry, this is pretty good. I want to think about it.
Oh, absolutely.
What do you do with that?
Hey, John, I appreciate that. I'm the same way. I like to think things over too. Not a problem. But before we go, just one last question. What is it you want to think about?
Okay, now, what do you get from a merchant when you say that to them? When you ask them that question, what do you want to think about? Do they get offended by that?
No. See, this is where our own emotions prevent us from asking something like that, right? This is where you have to have the conviction that I'm in this buyer-seller's dance world, and I believe in what I do. We've journeyed this far together. There's a stall.
Right.
Okay. Me being a conviction, right, in what I do and effective, I have the right to ask. Right. We're here now. We're friends, kind of, in the business world. So, hey, John, what is it you want to think about?
So I'm hijacking my own thread here, but a rep that does not ask what you want to think about, you think that is because their lack of conviction?
Lack of conviction. They probably feel that it would be awkward or rude to ask.
Uh-huh.
Or maybe they're just uncomfortable even thinking to ask.
Yeah.
And think about it. It's normal to ask, hey, what do you want to think about?
I picked something else up there that you did is one of the things that was in your talk track is you agreed with them. Hey, I'm the same way.
Same way.
Right. So you disarm this. I've had people do this to me before, where I'll say, I want to spend a little time thinking about it, and they come back immediately with, well, what do you want to think about?
Yeah.
And it's off-putting.
It is. No, that's where hey, I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I do the same thing.
Yeah.
And
that's key.
That's key. So it's the basics of bonding and rapport.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I'm mirroring my customer. I am like my customer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in my case, it's pretty easy because I do think things over, so I totally get it. So that's a sincere statement, right?
Yeah.
I do get that. Often, it's just, a lot of times, there's nothing to think over. It's just they're accustomed to, I just don't do things right now.
We've been trained that way.
And so
right?
we have that conversation, and they're like, oh, well, I don't know, I guess I should do it. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get things started, right?
Yeah, and it's hard. I think part of this too. By the way, I agree with you. I think a conviction and just this general notion that I'm not really secure in asking that question. Mm-hmm. I think part of this as humans, we've been trained. We've always heard, look before you leap. Fools rush in. You better sleep on this. You better think about it. Easy to get in and hard to get out of it, right? We've been told this since we were children.
And then if you want to take it a step further, hey, and they're still like, well, I just like to think things over. It's what I do. I'm trying to uncover really what the real reason is. They haven't told me.
Right. And they may not know.
And they may. So, hey, John, before I go, let's do a couple things. I just want to do a quick recap to make sure I haven't missed anything. So now I'm validating, right? So I just got a bullet point highlight real quick. So we're going to do this type of system, this. And we talked about accomplishing X, Y, and Z. Is that the case? Yeah. Yeah, Jerry's case. Okay. Do you believe this would work for you? So now I'm going emotional. Yeah, I do believe it would work for you. Great. And then we talked about the time to get this menu built and revisions. We're going to do this, and then a soft opening like this and this. Do you believe that would work for you? Yeah. Good. And then we talked about your merchant processing, how we're going to handle that. We're going to do this and that. We went through, in this case, maybe it is a buyer's choice or a surcharge, whatever that might be, right? You believe that will work for you? I do. And these savings will be real? Yeah, they are. Okay, great. When can we get back together to go ahead and sign paperwork? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming the close, right?
Now, I know another one you like to do is what do we need to do to move forward?
It's another one. Well, you'll get the temperature gauge of the customer, right? But if I get them to acknowledge, yeah, I believe that would work. I believe that. If not, they're going to tell me, well, it's not, now I know where I missed at, right? Let's fine tune that.
Excellent.
And it made us be down to that there's still a budget, money. And that's where you have to be comfortable, hey, John, is it the money? We talk about that.
Well, so let's back up a half step from that. Do you attempt to define what that merchant's decision-making process is?
Early on, yes. So whenever we set that actual appointment to meet,
yeah.
Hey, John, on this day, it's a small agenda, right? Hey, John, on this day, we're going to meet. We're going to go through currently how you're doing things, help you understand your business. I can present to you options. At the end of our meeting, you can let me know if you like what you see. Should we talk more? Is it not a fit for you? That's okay. Does that work for you? Yes. Okay, let's get our times right. Is there anyone else that needs to be in this meeting that is part of decision making? Nope. Not at all. You sure? You don't have a spouse, someone else? Nope. Perfect. And then a little post-sale tactic is, hey, John, let me give you my cell phone number. I know that life happens and stuff. This way you can get a hold of me. Here's my number. Oh, by the way, can I get yours? Giver's gain here, right?
All right.
So now if they will give you their cell phone number, all right, that's a level of commitment. So I've got a solid appointment, right? I've got his cell phone number. Like, yeah, this is good.
So well, let's pivot to that point then.
Yeah.
So, Jerry, I thought you did a great job of really laying out that whole process when you gave that, and this is really useful today. I know I've taken you down some rabbit holes here, but a lot of what you do is about building that rapport, which leads into trust, right? And that's at some point they become comfortable with you, and they're going to entrust you to take care of them. So, you also talked about that there are mistakes that people can make on go live day and go live day plus one that completely unravel that trust.
Yeah, part of your job, in selling a restaurant is understanding their environment, sitting, what's going to happen next. Basically, a plan action of the install, right?
Yeah.
And an agenda of what's needed. And so this is where a lot of people make mistakes. And it's not their fault because a lot of us, myself was one. I was a credit card guy. I sold merchant services and terminals, and virtual terminals and check readers and all that fun stuff. And then here's POS. And, you want to start selling it, and you can pick up on selling it and features and benefits and playing around with it. Yeah, I can do this. Well, the live environment's different, right? And that's where you set yourself up for failure and a very unhappy restaurant owner. So, in a restaurant, you have to understand the networking situation because these devices have to talk to each other through a network. PCI, right? Networks have to be secured, how you separate the POS from the normal Wi-Fi and what the guests interact with. It has to be stable because that's where merchants get mad. They blame all that POS or they blame that sales rep, right? It's got to be on a stable network. There's all these grassroots that have to be there for things to grow, and that's part of it.
But again, that's on you.
It's on
before
me.
That goes in there.
It's
if the merchant has to spend some money, etc., you've got to tell him that.
You do. So you want to go through and do the walk around, do the survey, the restaurant survey, right? Where stations will be, understanding is there proper, IP, Ethernet connections there for it, because ideally you don't want things on Wi-Fi, right? Wired is much more stable, and where kitchen printers will be, is there wiring there? Also understanding too, like hazards. So this is a common thing in the kitchen where they place stuff. How likely is that's going to get damaged? I've seen kitchen printers melt. I've seen them get fallen fryers. I mean, you name it, right?
They ever get thrown?
Probably. But survey the restaurant to know where things go. Identify weaknesses. Okay, we need a drop here, a cable drop here. Here's why. A lot of times, this is where the business owner might be bootstrapped and can't. So let's get creative, right? Cat 5 wiring at Lowe's or Home Depot is pretty cheap. Drop ceiling, you're going to drop it through here or there, terminate the end. It's not hard, okay? But find a way to make everything wired correctly, come to a central point so that there is a dedicated router that's the POS. That thing's locked down so no one's on it, right? So now you've got a stable environment. Everything that's in that POS network is all properly IP stacked, and it's set so it's not dynamic, means it could change. It's a set IP. Now you've got a better success, right? Things work. And a lot of folks don't know this. And for those trying to get into POS, I encourage you Google networking, like one-on-one understanding networks and routers. You can watch videos and pick up on it. It's not rocket science, right? It's learnable. But that'll give you a much better experience in installation with the restaurant owner by doing so.
Last question.
Yes, sir.
So we've got some listeners out there today, and there's a lot of people that are, as you know, in merchant that they're interested in restaurant, and they're trying to figure out how to pivot to that, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure you've won some folks over today, right? And they're going to take the plunge and go to that.
Yeah.
What kind of advice would you give them?
Lots. So, you have to understand that a lot of this will fall on your shoulders. I don't care what product, what company you sell for. If you're selling for a big national brand, at the end of the day, that business owner bought from you.
Yeah.
Especially in the mom and pop space. So
yeah.
You're the first line of defense. Be prepared for that. Definitely understand some of the basics of menu building and things because, again, they're going to fall to you.
Okay.
And also, too, you'll need it to do really effective demos with that customer because it's nice to show them the ease of how easy this is. Let me show you. So know those things. You have to understand if you're going to be successful, whether you're selling I'm going to name some products out there, but like Clover even, for example, right? Understanding how that works on a network. I understand how credit card terminals work on a network, right? Set yourself up for success and not failure and have that conversation with the merchant. If needed to be, partner with local IT guys. Mm-hmm. They're your best friends. I had several when I was out there selling. They appreciate the referral and the lead. Most often because these are the local companies. They're the mom and pop IT business owners.
Yeah.
They understand restaurants' needs. So they'll do cable drops after hours. They'll do cash deals if the restaurant wants. They're easy to work with. But they also become a referral partner for you.
Yeah.
Because now you've earned trust with these guys and they're giving you connections and referrals that they have because they're doing service to all these other businesses in your community.
Well, Jerry, we're at the end of our time for
Yeah.
today's podcast. If you have one, I'll give you the last word.
Oh, restaurants are fun. I like them. Take the time to understand them. That way you set yourself up for success and not failure and frustrations.
Thank you very much. Folks, thanks for tuning in. Hey, come back on Friday for our mailbag, and we've got a new segment that's a lot of fun. It's called The Backstory. Until then, for Jerry Faith, I'm John Johnson, and get your mind right.